You've optimized your life for comfort, and you don't even realize it's destroying you. Every decision you make is calculated to minimize discomfort, avoid conflict, and maintain your current level of ease. You chose the safe career over the risky venture. You stay in the mediocre relationship because starting over feels too hard. You avoid difficult conversations because tension makes you uncomfortable. You build an entire existence around the principle of least resistance, and now you're wondering why nothing feels meaningful. Comfort isn't peace. It's slow death disguised as stability. Look at your daily routine, and you'll see the pattern everywhere. You hit snooze because getting up is uncomfortable. You skip the workout because exertion feels bad. You order delivery because cooking requires effort. You scroll instead of reading because focus is difficult. You watch videos about success instead of doing uncomfortable things that create it. Every single choice is optimized for immediate ease, and each one is a vote for the person you currently are instead of the person you need to become. Change requires discomfort, but you've engineered your life to eliminate it entirely. There's a specific type of man that thrives in modern society, the domesticated male. He's agreeable, non-threatening, predictable. He doesn't make waves at work. He doesn't challenge the status quo. He consumes what he's told to consume and believes what he's told to believe. He's comfortable, and in exchange for that comfort, he's given up everything that makes a man actually dangerous. Not dangerous as in violent, but dangerous as in someone who can't be controlled, can't be predicted, can't be broken by circumstances. You've been trained into domestication so gradually that you think it's maturity. The ancient world understood something we've forgotten. Men need to be tested. They need physical challenges that push them to limits. They need situations where comfort isn't an option. They need to face fear, pain, exhaustion, and uncertainty regularly. Not occasionally as some adventure vacation, but as a fundamental part of existence. Modern life has removed all of this. You never have to be truly cold, truly hungry, truly exhausted, or truly scared. You can go years without experiencing genuine physical discomfort, and you think this is progress, when really it's making you soft in ways you can't even recognize. Your body knows you're living wrong. That restlessness you feel, that vague dissatisfaction, that sense that something's missing, it's your biology recognizing that you're not being used for what you're designed for. You weren't built to sit in climate-controlled environments, staring at screens. You weren't designed for predictable routines with no physical challenge. You weren't meant to go through life never testing your capacity, never pushing limits, never discovering what you're actually capable of when circumstances demand it. The comfort is killing your spirit so slowly that you've mistaken the death for living. Here's what happens when you deliberately seek discomfort. You discover you're far more capable than you thought. You can handle more pain, more exhaustion, more difficulty than your comfortable life led you to believe. That cold shower you've been avoiding, your body adapts in seconds. That workout that seemed impossible, you get through it and feel alive afterwards. That difficult conversation you've been postponing, you survive it and feel stronger for having done it. Every act of voluntary discomfort is evidence against the lie that you need life to be easy. You don't. You need it to be challenging. The man who requires comfort is easily controlled. He'll do whatever keeps his situation stable. He'll stay in jobs he hates because they're secure. He'll tolerate relationships that drain him because being alone is uncomfortable. He'll avoid speaking truth because it might create conflict. He'll compromise his values because standing firm has costs. The system loves this man. He's predictable, manageable, and completely non-threatening. He thinks he's being strategic by prioritizing stability, but he's actually imprisoned by his own need for ease. Let me tell you what strength actually looks like. It's being comfortable with discomfort. It's not needing your environment to be perfect to function well. It's not requiring ideal circumstances to perform. It's being able to handle cold, heat, hunger, exhaustion, stress, and pain without falling apart. This isn't about suffering for its own sake. It's about expanding your capacity so that normal difficulties don't break you. The man who can only function in perfect conditions is fragile. The man who can function in any conditions is free. You avoid physical challenge because you're afraid of discovering your limits. As long as you never truly test yourself, you can maintain the fantasy that you could handle hard things if you had to, but But you won't have to, so you never find out. This comfortable delusion protects your ego while keeping you weak. The men who deliberately put themselves in difficult situations, who train hard, who take cold plunges, who fast, who push physical limits regularly, they're not punishing themselves. They're inoculating themselves against weakness. They're building confidence through demonstrated capacity rather than untested assumption. Your ancestors would barely recognize you as the same species. They walked miles daily just to survive. They endured weather without modern protection. They went hungry regularly. They faced physical danger as a routine part of existence. They had to be strong, capable, and resilient because their lives demanded it. You don't have to be any of those things. You can be weak, dependent, and fragile, and modern systems will keep you alive anyway. But alive isn't the same as living. And somewhere deep down, you know the difference. The comfort addiction extends beyond physical ease into emotional comfort. You avoid anything that makes you feel bad. Someone criticizes you, and you either get defensive or collapse into self-pity. You experience rejection, and you interpret it as evidence of worthlessness. You feel anxious, and you immediately reach for distraction. You can't sit with negative emotions for even a few minutes without needing to make them stop. This emotional fragility makes you manipulable. Anyone who can control your emotional state controls you. And you've given that control to everyone. To partners, employers, social media, entertainment, substances, anything that offers temporary relief from feeling bad. Here's a practice that separates strong men from weak ones. Deliberate adversity. Not waiting for hard times to come to you, but actively seeking difficult experiences. Take cold showers. Fast for extended periods. Do workouts that push you past comfortable exertion. Have conversations you're afraid to have. Make decisions knowing you might fail. Put yourself in situations where you can't predict the outcome. Every instance of chosen difficulty is training for unchosen difficulty. And life will bring unchosen difficulty. The only question is whether you'll be prepared for it or broken by it. The modern obsession with self-care has become an excuse for weakness. Yes, rest is necessary. Yes, recovery matters. But you've taken this idea and weaponized it against yourself. Now, any discomfort is labeled as trauma to be avoided. Any challenge is reframed as toxic stress. Any demand is treated as unreasonable. You've given yourself permission to avoid everything difficult under the guise of protecting your mental health. This isn't health. It's fragility masquerading as wisdom. Real mental health includes the capacity to handle difficulty, not the ability to avoid it. Watch what happens when your comfort is threatened, when your routine gets disrupted, when your environment isn't perfect, when you don't get enough sleep, when you're hungry, when you're dealing with minor pain. Do you fall apart? Do you become irritable, unfocused, unable to function? If so, you're not actually healthy. You're just comfortable. Health is robust functioning across varying conditions. What you have is narrow functionality that requires specific conditions. This makes you vulnerable in ways you don't recognize until circumstances change and you can't adapt. The connection between physical softness and mental softness is undeniable. The man who never pushes his body develops a mind that can't handle resistance. The body teaches the mind what it's capable of. When you do hard physical things regularly, your mind learns that discomfort is survivable, that difficulty can be overcome, that limits are expandable. When you avoid physical challenge, your mind learns that discomfort is dangerous, that difficulty should be avoided, that you're fragile and need protection. Your training or lack of training isn't just about your body. It's programming your entire approach to life. There's a reason traditional masculine initiation rites involved ordeal. Vision quests in the wilderness, extended fasts, physical challenges that push boys to their breaking points. These weren't arbitrary cruelty. They were designed to reveal to young men what they were capable of when comfortable options were removed. They emerged from these experiences with earned confidence, knowing they'd faced genuine difficulty and prevailed. What's your modern equivalent? What have you endured that actually tested you? If the answer is nothing, you're still a boy in a man's body, operating on untested assumptions about your own capacity. Stop confusing preferences for needs. You don't need the temperature to be exactly right. You prefer it. You don't need food to taste amazing. You prefer it. You don't need constant entertainment. You prefer it. You don't need to avoid all discomfort. You've just become addicted to comfort. Recognizing the difference between actual needs and cultivated preferences is the first step toward freedom. When you realize how little you actually need, you stop being controlled by the threat of losing things you merely prefer. The path forward isn't complicated. Systematically introduce discomfort into your life. Start small if you need to, but start. Cold showers, hard workouts, fasting, sitting in silence with your thoughts, having difficult conversations, taking risks, making decisions despite uncertainty. Every act of voluntary discomfort is a reclamation of your capacity. Every moment you choose challenge over ease is a vote for strength over fragility. This isn't about becoming some extreme ascetic. It's about stopping the slide into complete softness that modern life enables. Here's what you gain. You become dangerous again. Not other people, but to your own limitations. Dangerous to the systems that rely on your compliance. Dangerous to the comfortable mediocrity that most people accept as inevitable. You can't be broken by minor difficulties because you've trained in major ones. You can't be controlled through threats to your comfort because you don't need it. You can't be predicted because you're not locked into patterns of least resistance. You become a man who makes decisions based on principles rather than convenience, who pursues meaning rather than ease, who builds capacity rather than protecting fragility. The comfortable life is a cage that doesn't look like one. It has soft walls and pleasant distractions. It provides just enough satisfaction to prevent rebellion, but not enough fulfillment to create genuine contentment. Most men die in this cage having never tested the bars, having never discovered they could have broken free whenever they chose to endure the discomfort of escape. Don't be that man. Choose the difficult path. Seek the challenging experience. Build calluses on your body and your mind. Become someone who can handle what life brings rather than someone who needs life to handle them gently. Comfortable men never become dangerous, and dangerous men are the only ones who are truly free.